We are live on Instagram for part two. My mic was not working on YouTube, but now my mic is working. Hello, YouTube. Okay, we're back. We're back. I had to get the mic situated, but now that we're situated, I'm really excited for this video because I want to share a story with you and I want to help you break your limiting beliefs. Hi, cousin. Hey, Karel, how are you? So, I want to break your limiting beliefs around hard work and around the idea that you need to work hard in order to align, manifest the life that you desire, right? Because that's just not the truth. And it's a lot of misinformation in the community right now, right? I think I am going to look at YouTube and then Instagram because I don't want to keep looking back and forth. But I will check over here to see if there's any comments. But there's a lot of misinformation in the community right now around like what you need to do in order to manifest your dream life. And I'm just here to dispel all of that. I am here to uh, erase all of that, right? And just, if anything, I'm here to have you investigate that belief and see like how much truth is actually there and see how much you actually picked up from things that happen in your life, right? Or from individuals that you watched. You can hear me? Okay, thank you. Yeah, they couldn't hear me on YouTube, but to see how much information that you picked up in your life from other people saying that you need to work hard, right? So I'm going to share this story. I shared this story in my email list. If you're on my email list, you already heard this story, but I want to share this story because this is my first introduction to the belief that I had to work hard, right? One, I mean, we hear it all the time in society. If you want anything worthwhile in your life, you gotta put in the work. You gotta put in the effort to get it. So we're always being confronted with this belief, with this idea that we have to work hard, And I think right now a lot of people are waking up to the idea that that's just not cutting it. A lot of people are burnt out. A lot of people are exhausted. A lot of people are tired. A lot of people have a lot of mental health issues. And I'm not a mental health expert, but I believe it's because of this idea that people are pushing themselves beyond their break, like they are pushing themselves beyond what they have the capacity to hold and endure. And people are starting to wake up and they're saying, wait a minute, this isn't right. This isn't right. I should not have to be working this hard. People have been lying to me, right? Especially because they're looking around and you're looking at these kids. Hi, Rhonda. You're looking at these kids and you're like, these kids are living lives online and they're doing these things like and it doesn't seem like they're putting in much effort, but I'm working 40 plus hours a week and I'm barely making it. So I think people are just starting to wake up, especially people who are working extremely hard and they're still not making enough to feed their families. They're still in financial like hard financial ships, right? Look at the state of the world. And I would say people are working extremely hard and they're still struggling. So this is my story. This is my story. Hi, Hallie. Thank you so much for DMing me. I appreciate your DM still. But this is my story. So I grew up with a single mom. Um, my dad wasn't really there. He was like kind of in and out of jail. He showed up around. I love my dad though. Me and my dad we're cool. But he wasn't there when I was growing up. So my mom had the weight of raising me on her own, right? She emotionally, mentally, financially, it was all on my mom to raise me. So you can guess what I've learned about hard work because my mom was hardworking. My mom, made sure that I had a good life. She made sure that I got everything that I wanted. She made sure of that. And like she always let me know too, right? My mom was always, you don't know how many sacrifices I'm making. That was like her thing, which is actually kind of detrimental, but she didn't know that. But it's just like she would always tell me, you don't know how many sacrifices I'm making. You don't know how many sacrifices I have to make sure that, you have this life. And then, so when I was younger, my mom was around a lot, right? When I was younger, I remember she worked at this desk job at like a call center, customer service. But I used to love that job because whenever I would go to work with her, we would take the train because we lived in like the suburbs. It was like 45 minutes from Chicago. But we would take the train to get there. I loved the train ride. And then she worked around like all these tall buildings. So I used to love looking at the tall buildings. I used to love going on the train ride. It was just so much fun. And then she had this like cubicle. Oh, thank you so much, Divine. She had this cubicle with my pictures all in. I just remember I felt so special. And then when I would come, people would be like, oh, this is Taylor. This is the one in your cubicle. And I'm like, yes, that's me. That's me. I just felt so special. I loved going to that job. And I was in school, then daycare, but we would spend the days together. We would spend the nights together. We would spend weekends together. I mean, I would go to my friend's house or cousin's house, whatever, but I would always come back home. Like I was always home more than I wasn't at home. And then 2008 happened. Now, 2008 was a recession. At that point, I think I was, maybe it was a bit sooner than 2008 because my brother was just born. So when my brother was born, I was about 9. So I had to have been like 9 or 10. I don't remember the year. I say 2008 because I know that's when the recession hit. But I was like 9 or 10 years old when this happened. We came home. I will never forget this day because we came home and we just walking up to the door, just like a regular day. My mom must have picked me up from daycare or school. We're walking to the door and my mom just starts screaming like, oh my God, I can't believe it. And I'm looking at her and I see that there's a paper taped to our door. And she ripped the paper off and she's screaming and she's like crying. And I'm just like, what's going on? Like, is everything okay? Is everything okay? And I'm a kid. I don't really know what's going on. But then my mom, she talks to me and she says, hey, we're gonna have to leave. We can't live here anymore. And I was confused. What do you mean we have to leave? This is my home. I love this home. I have my own room. I got my own bathroom. I love this home. It's like I don't want to leave. But she's like, we have to leave. I'm sorry, but we have to leave. And then we started packing up all our stuff. Like within weeks, right? We packed up all our stuff and we put it in storage. And she said, we're going to go stay with one of her friends. And I was just so confused. What is going on? Why do we have to leave? My mom, come to find out, I found out later that my mom had got laid off from her job and our home had got foreclosed. So the bank was taking our home. And that's why she was screaming, because I guess it was like a note of foreclosure on the door and she like lost it. But yeah, the bank was taking our home. My mom did not have a job. So I go from having my own room, having my own bathroom, to now I'm in the room with my mom and my brother, and we're living at one of her friend's house, and we're all in the same bedroom. And I'm not gonna lie, like I was kind of happy because she went to her friends who had kids that were my age. So I was like happy because I got to play with the kids. But it was still like, dang, I'm in a room with my mom and my brother, and that was just like not comfortable. And then we went from like friend house to friend house. And then I remember we would like have to go to the storage unit to get our stuff. Like we would have to like keep going to the storage unit to get our clothes out of storage. And yeah, just like have to keep getting our clothes out of storage, keep getting the stuff that we need for the week out of storage. We was like pretty much living out of the storage unit and then like staying in somebody's extra room on an air mattress. It was tough, it really was tough. So eventually we ended up my mom ended up getting a job. She got a new job. And I was so happy because I was like, yes. My mom's like, I got a new job. We're going to be moving soon. We're going to be getting our own place. And I was happy. I was like, yes, finally. I'm tired of sharing a room with you and Isaac. That's my brother's name. I was like, I'm tired of sharing a room with you and Isaac. We about to get our own place. And I did not know what that would come with though, because my mom ended up getting a job where she worked long hours. She worked really hard. Like she came home with these steel toe boots. And I thought, what job requires like these type of boots? Why do you need this type of protective gear? She's like, oh, I got to wear these to protect my feet. What type of job are you working where you got to protect your feet like that? She actually became like a cable, like the person that installed cable, but she would like be climbing. Y'all know those poles outside, those cable cords. Like she was climbing those poles. Like that's the type of job my mom had. And when she started working that job, she worked long hours. I barely saw her anymore. Like she would work so much overtime. I barely saw her anymore. And it was just, I mean, I wanted to like get our own place again, but I didn't know it would come with this. Like I got my own room again, but I didn't know that it meant that I was no longer going to see my mom anymore, or that I was going to become a permanent babysitter. That was another thing too that I've worked through, but I held so much resentment about, because I had to watch my brother all the time. Well, not all the time, because he would go with his dad. He would be between his dad and my home. But like in between that, I was watching my brother. So it's like, I just never, I didn't see my mom anymore. So in my head, my mom kept telling me like, this is what I have to do. You remember what happened, right? So in my head, I started to associate hard work with survival. Like in order for us to survive and have a roof over our head and food on our plate, you got to work hard. You got to work the jobs where you need to toe boots. You got to work the jobs where you work all night. My mom would come home. She would have dirt all on her hands. I would see her washing her hands in the sink, and it would just be so much dirt, like going into the sink. But in my head, I said, and I mean, of course, when I was younger, I didn't associate it like that. But I'm like, oh, but this is necessary because if she doesn't do this, we're going to be homeless again. So I just started to associate hard work with survival. And that pattern just continued to play throughout my life. Just like if I want something, I have to work extremely hard. And yeah, I mean, I got my first job when I was 16. And I mean, my mom, and this is another thing too, is I realized that, like, okay, sure, she's working hard and yes, we're surviving, but we were still like not 100%, financially like up. It wasn't like she worked this job and then now we're up and we don't got to worry about bills or nothing again. Like, no, that still came with it. So it's like she's working all these hours, she's working super hard, and we're still low key kind of struggling. We're still not like rolling in the dough. So I was like, okay, hard work not it. But again, I knew that like up here, but subconsciously I was associating hard work with survival. Like if I want to survive, if I want a roof over my head, if I don't want to be homeless, I have to work hard. So I started working when I was 16 years old. I also didn't like to ask my mom for nothing. I realized in therapy years later that, hi Ashley. I realized in therapy years later it's because I was afraid that we would end up in the same situation. I became extremely like it was hard for me to ask for stuff because I didn't want to be homeless again. And to me, I was always counting my mama's pockets, like so much that came from that. But anyways, yeah, I started working when I was 16. I would have two jobs at one time. Two jobs at one time. The first time I did that, I was working at Subway and Office Max. I would go to Subway in the morning from 7 to 3, and I would work Office Max from like 4 to 9. And I did that for a while because I wanted to get my own car. And then and I saw the benefits of it. Like when I work hard, I can get things. I can like have a life that I want because like when I was in high school, I feel like I couldn't have like the coolest, the newest things. But when I worked hard for myself, then I could afford these. Like I really wanted some Uggs. Then I could afford the Uggs when I work hard, right? So I was always working two jobs, or I was working in a warehouse, and I would be working like two jobs, and I was going to school. I was in college at the time too. So it's like I'm working hard in these jobs. I'm also in school. And this was normal for me, like, because this is just the way I saw it. It wasn't just my mom, my grandparents, my aunties and uncles, anybody that was around me. All I saw them do was work hard to get the life that they had. And eventually I said, okay, something got to give. I'm exhausted. I am exhausted. I was working like warehouse jobs. I was working really hard. And that was also something that people would say to me, my employers, because when I do something, I want to give it, I do it with excellence. That's just like that's just like who I am. If I'm going to do something, I'm not going to half-ass it. I'm going to give it my all. But people would always say that to me too. You're a hard worker. And that became like my identity. I am the hard worker. Or even something else like when I would try out for things in high school. I wasn't great at basketball, but I tried out for the basketball team because I just wanted to do it. And like I didn't have the technical skills or nothing, but the reason why I made it was because I worked hard. I pushed myself hard in practice. I pushed myself hard when it came to like certain tryouts. It's like, and this was always my mindset. I may not have the skill set, but I'm gonna outwork anybody. So again, I just kept having this mentality that I have to work hard in order to get the things that I want. And then it got all blown to shreds because guess what? Drugs got introduced in the picture. Let me tell you something. A lot of y'all know I've struggled with addiction. But the reason, and like one of the things I said why I got into addiction is because I was looking for God, right? I was starting my spiritual journey. But another reason why I got into addiction is because of how easy it was to shift my internal state. Where all my life I thought I had to work hard in order to achieve, I could now just take a pill and change my state. I could now just snort. I don't know if I'm gonna get it's I mean, this not monetized, so it don't matter. But I could just snort something and change my state. So I was like, this gets to be easy. I don't have to work hard to change my internal state. But doing that comes with a lot of consequences. It comes with a lot of consequences that aren't worth it, that I quickly figured out, right? And I won't go into that, but that comes with a lot of consequences. So long story short, I learned about manifestation. I came after rehab. I was ready for a change, sober-minded, ready to change my life. I came across Neville Goddard. And he said, imagination creates reality. And I just believed him. He told the story that I told on my last YouTube video, but he told this story. I'm trying to get out of struggle mode as far as manifesting. I got you. Because I'm going to tell you how. I'm going to tell you how I did it. Because let me tell you, I listened to Neville Goddard. He told this story. He said, and he was talking about, and I just resonated with him. Everything he said, I said, I don't know why, but I'm gonna listen to him. I mean, I did know why. He told a story about the dreams, and I had all of these experiences in my dreams where I never heard anybody talk about dreams in this way. So I was like, whatever he talking about, I'm gonna listen. And he said, imagination creates reality. And he talked about how to use your imagination to shift your reality. And I said, I'm gonna believe him. I'm gonna put full faith into this. And when I did, I changed my life. Right, I went from Chicago to Denver. To Colorado, because I needed to get out of Chicago because the drugs. I told y'all I love the quick change in my internal state, but that was not healthy. So I had to leave there. I ended up going to rehab. Then after rehab, I said, I can't go back to Chicago because I don't want to go back into that lifestyle. I knew that lifestyle wasn't for me. So I ended up going to Colorado. And in Colorado, sober-minded, I'm feeling good. I started listening to Neville Goddard, and he said I could do it, and I believed him. And at that point, I kind of ruined my life in drug addiction. So my finances were in the toilet. I had an eviction on my record. I didn't really have a skill set to get a job. I mean, I had an associate's degree, but like, what can you really get with an associate's degree? Oh my God, my boyfriend is calling me. I told him I was going live. I don't know why he would call me. But I didn't really have skill set. So I was just like working at a cafeteria, but I listened to Neville, and he said, go to sleep in the state. And I started going to sleep in the state, and he just said, accept that you have it. And I did. When I tell you things changed within a matter of 2 months, in a matter of 2 months, I was able to, because I was living in like a sober living, in a shared living space. I was able to get out of that place in 2 months. I paid off a lot of my debt. I was able to like pay for my first month rent, furniture, all that. Like it seemed like it came out of thin air. Hey, Coco. It seemed like it came out of thin air. Yeah, you can relate, Ashley, right? It was just happening so fast. Everything was happening so fast. And I'm like, this stuff works. But I also feel like I was kind of shocked. I also feel like this is a too good to be true thing. That's something else I heard when I was growing up. It's like, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. So again, you got to work hard because things don't come that easy, right? If it's too good to be true, it probably is. So for me, I feel like, okay, things were shifting fast. And I even like manifested my following on TikTok, right? I had like, I really wanted to grow, like do content. Cause I'm like, I want it to be easy. I want an easeful life. And I manifested my following on TikTok. And it was just, when I tell you things were happening so fast, that in a way it scared me. Because it did not match up to my belief system that I have to work hard to get the things that I want. So I self-sabotage because I'm like, and I don't like to say that in my world. I say self-protection, but just so you guys know what I mean, I'm talking about self-sabotage. But really, self-sabotage is always self-protection. But I ended up going into like heavy self-protection mode because for me, this was not safe. For my life to be changing so rapidly, when I had this belief that that things don't come to you unless you earn it, unless you work hard for it. And I felt like I didn't work hard for this. I felt like I just visualized. Like all I did was visualize, and I just like claimed the state, and things started changing. Like this isn't real. Then I have people in my life telling me like, oh, this is why this happened. This is why you like they like logically explain the things that were happening in my life away. And Neville says that too. Neville says that when the bridge of events is going to look like it would have happened anyway. And people are going to look in your life and they're going to say, oh, that would have happened anyway. But you know that it happened because of the power of your imagination. And I knew it was the power of my imagination, but I began to doubt, and I began to like go into that whole idea of this was too easy. So after that, for years, when I tell you I overcomplicated the process, I started to bring, because let me tell you what self-development is. Hey, sis. Hi. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I love you. I miss you. I started to I started to bring a lot of like the self-development into manifestation, where they say things like you have to act like the version of you, which Neville never said. Neville Goddard never said act like the version of you who has your desires. He said imagine. Like it was always imagination. It never had anything to do with like physical. Even I was just listening to a lecture of his recently, and he said if you want to be married, he said put a wedding ring on your finger. In imagination. He didn't say go out and buy a real wedding ring, where a lot of the manifestation people in this space now will say, go out and buy the real wedding ring. Go out and like do the behaviors of your ideal self, because they're tying in this self-development language into spirituality. They're overcomplicating it. It's not that complicated. It really is simple. And it took me years to remember. I had to retrain my nervous system. I had to train my nervous system to see ease as safety because I was used to chaos. I was used to things being all over the place. That to me was safety. I was used to things having to be hard. If it wasn't hard, it wasn't safe. So I purposely seeked out hard experiences in my relationships, in jobs. I couldn't even work a job unless I was working my ass off because I would be like, this is boring. It wasn't safe to me because if it was too boring, what did that mean? That mean I had to sit with my feelings. And I didn't know how to sit with my feelings. I didn't know how. So I sought out jobs that kept me busy. I needed to be busy all the time. I needed to be busy. Can anybody relate to need? I feel like I've been talking a lot, but can anybody relate to just feeling like you need to be busy? Like you ever just sit down to say, I'm gonna do nothing. And then all of a sudden you go, oh, actually I need to go clean. Actually, let me go do this. Let me go check my email. Let me go. Cause it's like sitting down and being still. It's like you're doing nothing. It's so easy. But for some reason, you're like, I need to go do something. And it's just because what's coming up, what starts to bubble to the top is a lot of that emotions that the reason why we've been keeping busy so that we don't have to feel these emotions. Exactly. I don't need that shit at all. I don't need to be busy, but I mean, I still do. I'm sitting down. I'm like, I need to go fold some clothes. I need to go do these dishes. And it's like, girl, those dishes can wait. But I'm like, nah, I need to do something. I need to do something. So that just became my like identity for a very long time. It's like, I just could not sit still in jobs, in relationships. If relationships were too easy, baby, I'm like, I'm creating the drama. I need some drama. Like, let me go start a fight. Let me go pick something because that's just all I knew. And that felt good. I mean, even though it didn't feel good, right? Look at from the outside looking in. And I would even say, this don't feel good. But to my nervous system, that was normal and it was natural. That felt good to always be in that chaos and that drama, starting shit for no reason, being in jobs that made me work till my feet bled. That felt good. I just rather feel and let it pass so I can move if the emotional ladder. Exactly. Yes. I had to learn that though. Nobody taught me that. No, nobody taught me. I'm on Instagram as well. That's why I keep looking over here. I'm on Instagram and YouTube. But nobody taught me how to just feel my emotions. I didn't know until I did, until I remembered the truth of who I am. And that is when it got easy for me. When I started to remember that, wait a minute, I am not the character that feels like she needs to do. Right? I mean, I am, and we go into that, but really, I'm just I am the observer. I am awareness. I am stable. I am centered. I am okay. And I had to like do a lot of self-inquiry to like break through a lot of the beliefs that I had about who I think I am. Because all my life, I thought I was Taylor, whatever age I was at the time, whatever my past history was. Like, even I'm telling you history and memories. But that has nothing to do with who I am now. And who I am now is just being. I am just here. Without referring to thoughts about the past and the future, I couldn't tell you anything about myself except for I am here. We're so used to referring to our thoughts to tell us about who we are because we're so attached to our thoughts, and that is what keeps us in this loop, this never-ending loop of doing. Because our thoughts are always convincing us that we need to do in order to get because of the beliefs that we picked up, right? Because of things that I saw. So that internal dialogue was just going. And eventually I got to the point where I started to just observe that internal dialogue and realize that's not who I am. It is a story. And I am aware of that story. Oh, thank you. I'm grateful for you as well. And I said, I'm aware of that story. I am not that story. I'm simply observing it. And then I just had to keep turning my attention to the awareness itself. Again, to keep going to a thought cannot tell me about who I am. Because if I ask you who you are right now, what would you say? What would you say? Who are you? And don't refer. Let me ask you this in another way. Tell me who you are without referring to your thoughts about who you are. Oh, really? Yes, that's what's up. I love that. But tell me who you are without referring to thoughts. Tell me. Imagine you just got to this world right now. Let's just imagine. Let's imagine you just got to this world right now. Okay, you say Ashley, but where'd you learned that, right? For you to say your name, you learned that somewhere. I said, imagine you just got to this world. You don't have thoughts, right? But you're aware, but you're here. But you don't have thoughts about a past or a future. But you're still here and you're still able to like hear me, whatever. And I mean, even that gets funky because you had to learn language, you had to learn English. But let's just imagine. Do you still exist? Do you still exist? If I say to you, you don't have a past, well, let's just imagine you don't have a past and you don't have a future. You're just here. Would you say that you still exist? Without referring to any thoughts about a past and without projecting anything about yourself in the future, are you still here? I love that, Coco. Yes, Coco said I learned this on my own when about 10 years ago when I realized I couldn't say who I was without referring to a title of who I was to someone else. Everything we know is in relation to something else. And it's always related to the past. Hi. It's always related to the past, right? But so without the past and without the future, just contemplate on that for a bit. You're still here. Without thoughts about a past and without a future, you're still here. What is that you? What is that you that I'm referring to? And what can you truthfully say about it in this moment? The one thing you could say about it is that I'm here. Oh my God, I did not see that. Are you okay? Are you okay? Oh my God, my boyfriend just told me he's fine. Okay. I've never even read Neville, but the more I hear about him through others, the more I think, well, hell, I've done this already, but maybe I should listen. I'm telling you, go listen to Neville. Go listen to Neville because he just talks so much about your mom said, get out of my life. I think something's wrong with him though. So I'm going to have to cut this short real quick. But there's nothing you could say about yourself without referencing the past and referencing the future. The only thing you will say about yourself, if you're being honest, is that you're here, is that you're just here. So with that information, I realized that I was overcomplicating the manifestation process because I was listening to these thoughts that were coming from the past, telling me who I am and what I need to do, instead of just remembering that I am. And in that state, it is already whole and enough. It's only thoughts that tell us that we're lacking or that something's wrong or that we need to do, that we need to fix. Yeah. I'll send you my favorite lecture of his. I definitely will. It's only the thoughts, but you are aware of thoughts. What is it that's aware of thoughts? When you start to become curious about what it is that's aware of your experience, you'll know what I mean by you've never done anything. You've never taken an action. Who you've taken yourself to be is the one that's seemingly moving through time and space, but not the true you, right? Now, I won't go too much into that now, but if you are interested in what I'm saying, then join the 21-day ease experiment, where it's all about us experimenting with how easy it gets to be to get your desires without all the effort that you've been putting into it, without all the doing. And what it includes daily audio transmissions, where for me, the transmissions are not meant for your logical mind. Because if you're listening to me now and you're going, I don't get this, that's okay. You're not supposed to. The logical mind can't get this because the logical mind, it's always going to compartmentalize information and then relate it to something else that it knows. So it's trying to relate this information to something that it's already heard before and to put it into a little box when this can't be put into a box because you're aware of the box. So what the 21-day challenge is that I send you daily audio transmissions that bypass the logical mind, that just touch the part of you that knows. Because I'm sure there was a part of you that went, I may not understand this. Or you do, right? You do understand it. But maybe there's a logical part of you that goes, I may not understand this, but I feel it. Like I feel what's being said here. I may not know, but I feel it. That's the point of it. And then what this does is that it shifts your perspective. Because the thing is that you don't shift your perspective. You actually can't. You can't, because the conditioned mind, its job is to create distinction. Its job is to label and compartmentalize. So it can't do this on its own. Exactly. We are constantly evolving. Exactly. Yes. So it can't do this on its own. It's like God that does it for you. And that's why this requires an immense amount of faith. Right. And I feel like that's where I lose people. People have a hard time with faith. And I get it. It's difficult, but it requires an immense amount of faith to allow something bigger than you to do the work for you. Because you realize that it's not your job to bring about the shift in your perspective. You realize it's not your job for you to see what I'm pointing to. It just happens. It's going to happen. It's no doubt it's going to happen. It's just, can you be open enough to allow it to happen? Because the thing is, it's already happening. It's just your attention is like very fixated on your thoughts, right? On who you take yourself to be. Your attention has just been trained to go there. But when you start to like inquire into, wait, I'm not my thoughts. So who am I? Who am I if I don't have a past or a future? And you just start to inquire into that. Something happens. Yes, I do 101. I do 101. DM me on Instagram. DM me on Instagram. And then I'll yeah, we can talk. We can talk on Instagram, but I do 101s. But something happens. Something happens that's beyond. I'm telling you, because so often people try to figure this out with the logical mind, and then they just intellectualize it. This is not about intellectualization. This is about straight immediate experience where it becomes evident that you are not separate from your environment and that you are not who you've taken yourself to be your entire life. It just dawns on you, not through thinking about it, but through realization. Who's the person you're referring to? The person I'm referencing is the person we've taken ourselves to be, right? Like our name, our age, our ethnicity. These are all things that we've been taught, and your thoughts. If I ask you, like, who are you without your thoughts? Like, imagine you came to this world and you don't have a past and you don't have a future. You don't know anything about that, but you're aware. Without referencing your thoughts, what can you tell me about yourself? And do you still exist? Without referencing your thoughts, do you still exist? And you see that you do. Without any idea about who you are, your name, like your history, you still see that there's a part of you that's still there. That part of you is the part that takes care, that's been taking care of us our entire lives. We've just been so identified with the thoughts in our head. And the thoughts in our head are always telling us what we need to do and who we need to become in order to get. And as soon as we just start to see through that and go, wait a minute. And that's what happened to me recently. I need a one-on-one consultation. Chance, you signed up. Okay, if you would like a one-on-one, DM me on Instagram. If you DM me on Instagram, we can figure out what would be the best package. Hi, Morgan. How are you? Me and Morgan did a one-on-one. Me and Morgan really just focused on like being in the end, because what I focused on to begin with is like, what is your desire, right? Because this is cool and this is important, right? To remember the truth of who you are. Lots happening. I'll tell you later. Okay, nice. But it's also about like claiming your desire, right? And just claiming it in imagination, not claiming it through your actions, not claiming it through what you do, but just claiming it in imagination, and allowing it to happen. The reason why people have a hard time allowing it to happen is because they think they're the doer. They think they're the ones that has to do something. So then they get caught up in that dialogue of like, I have to figure it out. I have to do this. And I just go chill out. I told my boyfriend the other day, he was like getting frustrated about something. I said, visualize the scene at the end and go play with, like, well, what did you do when you were a kid? I told him, I said, we're going to go buy you some Legos. We're going to go buy you a train set. Because you need to just chill out and allow the answers to come to you. Because ruminating on it, because the thing is, the reason why you have the problem is because of your thinking. So you're trying to use your thinking that created the problem to find the solution. Don't do that. Just let it go. Go do something fun. Go do something creative. The answer will come to you. That's what I mean by it gets to be easy. That's what I mean about easeful manifestation. Because this is what I realized. Because I mean, and I've tethered between those, right? So like I said, when I first found out about manifestation, I did it. My nervous system did not see that as safety, as things can happen this fast. My nervous system did not see that as safe at all. So I went into very self-protective mechanisms to get myself back into the function of hard work. So I worked hard to build my following up to like on TikTok to 50K. I mean, I was still manifesting, but a lot of it was like me trying to act as if me trying to be the version of myself that had 50K followers. Let me tell you, I was miserable. I was burnt out. I was doing too much because I was thinking, I forgot that all I had to do was use my imagination. I forgot. All I got to do is imagine. Like what? But to me, I said it couldn't be that simple. Like it could not just be that I imagine and it happens. Like what? It could not be that simple. How do you visualize money? I would say when it comes to visualizing money, you visualize the end. You don't visualize the getting. So like what would your life look like once you get the money? So like for me, I always visualize the end scene. I visualize somebody congratulating me. I'll visualize, usually I'll do like a visualization of somebody congratulating me, somebody giving me a hug, just like anything that would imply the end. So like what is the end of the money? What does it look like to you to have money? Does it look like having your bills paid up? Maybe that's the end would look like, when a bill comes, you pay it and you smiling because you're so happy because you're paying that bill. You just loop that scene over and over and you give it all the tones of reality. You just do that before you go to bed. And when I tell you that's all you need to do, that's all you need to do. Don't try to sit there and go, okay, now I need to act like the person that has money. I need to go do this. People will tell you that. I'm telling you, that self-improvement jargon that people are bringing to the manifestation space. They're trying to complicate this. It's not complicated. They're trying to bring that stuff over here that you need to, because self-improvement will tell you that the self-improvement bros, you need to be getting up. You need to be acting like the people that have what you want. Says who? Says who? You need to be, you just need to focus on the state, accept the state. And then guess what? Intuitively, you'll become aware of a state where it's already done. And then your character, they're already doing what it is that you need to do in that state. So the version of yourself that has the money that you want, you don't need to act like somebody that has money. There's a version of you that's already doing it. All you need to do is tap into them. And you tap into them by just accepting it, claiming it, and remembering the truth of who you are, that you are not what you see. I mean, you are, right? Well, and that's further down the line. But like in the beginning, it's important to first see that you are simply observing it. You're just observing it. So first you do that. You just go back and you see, oh, I'm just an observer. I'm not actually this. And then once you do that, you'll realize that your attention naturally starts to become aware of opportunities, naturally becomes aware of situations to where the abundance just starts flowing in. The money just starts flowing in because because the state is already complete. That's something else Neville says. I love Neville. Neville says the state is already complete. The state doesn't need your actions. It doesn't need your thoughts. It doesn't need anything from you. It just needs your acceptance. So what you do is you turn your attention to the state. And then by turning your attention to the state, you just become aware of that state. And that's what I mean by it gets to be easy. Does it require effort? The effort comes in to taking your attention away from what you believe, which can be hard. That can be difficult. I'm not going to lie. I want your program. I'm going to put the link to the program. It's $21, one-time payment of $21, where we're going to have 3 live calls and you get audio transmissions once a day. Like I said, that bypasses it's meant to bypass the conscious mind. Now, your conscious mind is still going to want to try to make sense of this, but that's okay, because that's what the conscious mind does. That's what the conscious mind does. But eventually what's going to happen is that, and my birthday's on the 10th too. That's why I'm starting it on the 10th, because that's my birthday. Please, yes, join. But what's going to happen is it's like a transmission. It's just like the part of you that knows remembers. It just starts to be remember, and then the shift begins to happen. So that's why you ever listen to videos where you have this shift and it's like you didn't even do anything, but you just like heard something that shifted it for you. So imagine being engaged with that for 21 days and then we have live calls once a week where we do this, but we get to have back and forth with each other. You can ask me questions and we can figure out what's coming up, because what's going to come up is a lot of the suppressed stuff. But there's nothing to be afraid of, because for a long time, that's what kept me away from the non-dual vision, was that I started to feel a lot of my emotions and I didn't like that. Like I said, I didn't know how to feel. So I didn't like that. And it felt like terror. It felt like overwhelming. It was too much for me. So I would like go, I don't want this. Never mind. I would much rather just like use my thoughts to create my reality. Even though this is a much easier way. A much easier way. It's just, And that's what we do is like, I figured out a way to where it doesn't have to suck so much to learn how to feel your emotions. And that's through nervous system expansion. It's just teaching your nervous system how to see overwhelm, how to see like these sensations that we usually look away from, how to see those as normal, how to see those as safe, how to just create safety around that, which we're also going to be talking about inside of the Ease experiment, which starts November 10th, 21 days, 21 time payment of $21. Okay. So I'm gonna wrap it up with this, because this is what I realized, because I was still bringing that self-improvement jargon into manifestation. And I didn't even realize I was doing it, but I was. And what I realized was this, and it happened, I want to say a few months ago, because if you see, I posted this video on my YouTube where I said the lock-in, like the great lock-in. Everybody's talking about the lock-in, right? How you lock in, how you change your patterns and your habits and your behaviors. And I jumped on that train and I said, this is how you're going to lock in. And after I recorded that video, I said, this is not it. Like this feels like too much work. I feel like I'm doing too much. And at that point, before that, I was already practicing the self-inquiry. I was already like really diving deep into who am I? Because it was like I got sunk into the identity again, and I was feeling heavy and weighted. So I said, no, this is not who I am. Like, who am I? And with that, the realization came that I was overcomplicating this. And I said, all I got to do is be it. All I got to do is accept the state. When I accept the state, I'm it now. Like that's all it takes, is accepting the state. And when I accept the state and I stop looking through the eyes of the separate self and I look through the eyes of the all, then it works out for me, right? So that's what I did. I just accepted the state. What is it that I want? What is it that I want? I want to have a thriving business, right? I want to have an engaged audience online. I want my videos to touch the lives of many and transform them. I want to aid in that process. I want to have a healthy family, healthy relationship in my family dynamics. I want to have better financials, right? I want to have a better relationship with my finances. But that statement of I want is what keeps it away. Because I want. Then I stopped saying I want. I started saying I have. And not just like saying it but my body feels like I don't. Because through self-inquiry, I'm not these emotions. Through repatterning my nervous system, these emotions are no longer scary. I created enough space for these emotions to just exist. I can claim this thing now. And I don't need to wait for the external to show me something different for me to know that I am now. I am it now. So that's what I did. When I tell you I think within a week, this opportunity came to me, because I haven't said I wanted a coach for a long time. But again, I was trying to like, I need to work hard to get enough money to get a coach. I want a coach, right? No longer I want. I have. My coach now sent me a message. He said, hey, would you like to work together for 4 weeks? All I want is this. That was a beautiful opportunity. I said, absolutely. And our work was so amazing together that I was able to manifest the money too. Now I did invest in her. But it happened so effortlessly. All this time I've been trying to do it, and then it happens, right? The same thing with my YouTube. If you look at my videos, that they have been, I'm so grateful, right? They were still getting good engagement. Shout out to my loyal viewers, because they were still getting decent engagement. But it was like, I felt like I was working really hard and I was not seeing the results that I knew were possible, because I kept wanting. I started claiming I have. And I'm telling you, I think the second video after I just made that decision, right? Because you'll see, well, it was like 3 videos, but I started like prioritizing my creativity, all that. But you'll see, first I said, I had the lock-in. After that lock-in video, because I started remembering. When I remember, I just started talking about it. So I was like, wait a minute, manifestation gets to be easy. Wait a minute, break up with your old frequency. Because I realized I was attached to my frequency. When I make videos, I'm telling y'all, it's exactly what's happening in my life at that moment. It's no cap in my rap. Like, I'm making videos because this is what's going on. So when I'm making the lock-in, it's because I felt like I needed to lock in. Then I started going, wait a minute. I had to break up with my old frequencies. So that was the next video. And then after that, I said, manifestation is easy. And then after that, my video, I was like, wait a minute, I don't got to do nothing. And that was the video that took off. Because I said, oh, people resonate because people know it's true. And I did it. And then from there, things just been popping off. Things have been amazing. Right? And just even outside, like, there's so many manifestations I could talk about, and I don't want to take too much time, but like, every single time I remember that I don't have to do anything. I just need to accept the state and remain as I am, that's when things start working out for me. And usually what gets me to that point is I become so frustrated that I just surrender. Where now I realize I don't have to get so frustrated, because I didn't get so frustrated this time. It was just me remembering the truth of who I am. It wasn't like something bad happened, because usually people don't change until something catastrophic happens in their life. So it wasn't like anything catastrophic happened or I was down bad and I had to surrender. Where that's been the case many times. And when I do surrender, that's when things happen, right? Because I let go. I get out of the way. This time, I just got out of the way because I remembered. So that's what my intent is with transmitting this, with helping you to remember that this is not about you doing it. It's just a remembering. You don't have to wait until things get so bad. You don't have to wait until some catastrophic event happens where you're forced to surrender. Because that's usually what happens. People will grind until they're exhausted and they collapse, and then they experience burnout. Then they're forced to surrender, and then things work out. And then when the things work out, they're like, oh wait, no, I'm doing something right. No, it's not because you're doing something right. It's because you surrendered. It's because you let go. So then that's why it worked out. So then you start to associate the hard work with the thing when it wasn't that. It was because you just surrendered because you had to, because your body forced you to rest. And can you see how when you rest, that's when it came? But then people don't, but they don't connect those dots. They think it's because, like, when people will say, like, you work so hard, and then right when you about to give up, that's when it comes. It's not because of the time. It's because you finally rested and got out of the way. So you can just rest now. You don't have to work yourself to the bone to where it's like, oh, until I'm at the end and I'm about to give up. No, you don't have to do that. You could just rest now. You could just kick your feet up now. And I'm not saying that, like, for the who you take yourself to be. Taylor works on her business. Taylor works on the content, right? The other day, it took me 2 hours because I was like back recording my content. And it felt like a lot of effort. But for me, it's worth it. You find the effort to me, that's worth it. That's worth it. Because, like, sure, it feels like effort, but it feels like effortless effort, if that makes sense. It doesn't feel like I'm trying to make this happen. It just feels like, oh, this is some resistance, but this is what I love to do. It's worth it. And again, I'm just observing that anyway. I'm not the one experiencing the resistance. I'm just aware of resistance, and that comes and it goes. All of it comes and goes in who I am. I am, and I am just here being myself. And what we see through the being is that what we're seeing is not separate from the self. So there actually is no separation. This is what non-duality is referring to. It's not an ideology. It's not a religion. It's not a new thing to learn to add to your toolbox of conceptions. It is your natural way of seeing. The only reason why you don't see that is because you're seeing through the lens of the separate self. You're seeing through the lens of your conceptual way of experiencing reality. Teapot, door, Taylor, you, right? Your mind just naturally does it. So that's the lens that you're seeing reality through right now. But I'm telling you, you did not come in seeing reality in that way. You came in undivided awareness. You didn't know division. You were taught that. And that perspective is still available to you. It's just about letting go and allowing something, which is just a you, rearrange it for you, right? So that is what has allowed me to manifest my dream life, where now I'm in Thailand, traveling the world with my family, working on my business, creating content full time. This was once a dream. And now I'm here. And it didn't come through effort. You'll see a lot of effort. And I'm telling you, when all that effort was happening, I was miserable. I was not happy. I was not having a good time because I kept thinking that I have to do this in order to get, instead of realizing I am. So this is what I do. I am like that. The same actions can be happening, but it's happening from a much different frequency. I am. So this is what I do. If you don't use it right now, where can we find the link? You can find the link in like my YouTube video. If you want my YouTube videos, it's the first link that's on there. Go to my link, and then I'm actually going to make a post about it on my YouTube community post too, to anybody that wants to join. But yeah, it's just a different frequency. This guy Danko, I love Danko. He's like a self-improvement bro, but he used to always say this thing where he's like, you get to this point where you're like waking up every day, you're so excited about your projects. And I realized for me, I was like, when am I going to get to that point? Because I'm doing the whole entrepreneur thing, but I don't feel excited about my projects. I feel like, oh, here we go again. Here I go trying to make something happen. Here I go trying to make money, trying to get followers, trying to grow my audience, trying to get the reach that I want. Here I go. Like it did not feel like, some days it was fun. I'm not gonna lie, but like excited about my projects, I was not excited. It just felt like this is something else I need to do. Where when I started, I was excited. I was really excited about what I was doing. I was like, oh my God, it was like creativity. But soon as I started seeing that, like, oh, what it took to run a business, and I started listening to all the self-improvement bros, I was like, oh my God, bro. Like, this is hard work. And it is. I'm not like, I mean, it's not hard work when you're operating from the truth of who you are. Cause guess what? Now I wake up, I'm excited. I'm like, what work can I do today? Like what's on the agenda? Right, the character, I should say. But I am the character. I am not separate from the character. It's interesting. And I'll end with this. I keep saying that, but a lot of people in non-duality, which is why I say that they've made non-duality another religion. They've made it another thing to conceptualize. But they'll say things like, in non-duality, there is no character. There is no you, or they'll say like, I am not the character. I am not this. Non-dual means not two, which means you are absolutely what you see. There is no separation. So if you think that you're just the awareness, you're still operating from dualism, because if you're the awareness, that means you're aware of something, which means there's two. What I'm suggesting and what I'm pointing to and what you'll investigate and see for yourself is that the observer is not separate from what's observed. There is no two. There's just the one appearing as the many. So when people say things like, I am the one, I am awareness, I am not this character, or they try to play, I'm not going to get involved in these games, or I'm be honest, that is, I'm telling you, that they have a non-dual ego, a non-duality ego. And a lot of them, they're very, I would say they're sincere, that they don't know they're doing it, but they haven't had a true, like the perspective hasn't truly shifted. And I know because I was there. Let me tell you, I know because that was me. That was me for a long time. I am not the character. I am not what I see. Forget all this. That was like my non-dual ego, alive and well, until I saw that they are act like, conceptually I knew they weren't separate, but it wasn't until the perspective shift, and like I would say, it just dawned. It just, like, the perspective shifts beyond my control. I didn't think my way here. It just dawned on me because I wanted to know the truth. I want to see the union. I really want to see this, right? And with that earnestness, and with me like really practicing self-inquiry, I got the self-inquiry guide, practicing self-inquiry, it just becomes more and more evident. Like I won't even say like, oh my God, I'm completely like, I never get back into the mind's games, the mind's tricks. No, baby, because I can still get caught up in it. But then a perspective just gently goes back. It's just like I said, the optical illusion, where in one image you see one thing and it's the same image, but it's like two images into one thing. It's just like your perspective shifts ever so slightly. So one out of one, the same, nothing about your experience changes. It's just that from one lens, it seems as if you are separate and you are enclosed in your body and you are your thoughts, right? And you are the one that's doing and making it happen. That's just one perspective. But in that same experience, you see that it's all just happening, that there is really no doer. It's all consciousness. It's all imagination. Yes, Steve. And it's so, it's like subtle, the perspective shift, but the revelation, it holds so much weight, and it changes everything. It changes everything. Like people say, oh, when this happens, nothing changes. You know, like this saying in Zen: before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. Right? And like, while that is true, the way you chop wood and carry water is different, because you're no longer chopping wood and carrying water and going, I'm chopping wood. Sweet dreams, Ashley. You're not going, I'm chopping wood. I'm carrying water. It's just happening. And there's just like this appreciation about the flow of energy of life just moving through you as the chopping wood and carrying water. It's just happening. So like, yes, the what you see doesn't change, but the way you relate to it, because there's no longer a you relating to it. There's just the everything being in love with its own self, knowing that itself is the experience. And that's when manifestation becomes easy, effortless, instant. Because you see, it's already instant. This is already This is your imagination right here. People, oh, how can I manifest? You're already doing it. How can we consciously manifest? Okay, let's talk. Because you're already manifesting. This is it. Look around. You already have what you want. Once having is evidence of wanting. Maybe consciously you don't want it, but on a subconscious level, baby, yes, you have what you want. And it's not about like going through and having to repair and heal and do all that. Just remember who you are. And at night, like Neville, I will say the doing comes from use your imagination to create the scene. Give your subconscious the information. But for me, that's it. Maybe there's other ways to reprogram the subconscious mind. Maybe you have a way that you prefer, but like just don't do too much. Do you do anything specific to get back to that space once the mind distracts and takes you away from it? I just notice that the mind is distracted and taking me away from it, and that seeing is it. As soon as I just notice it, like, oh, I'm like my attention is fixated a lot on my thinking. My attention is like really caught up in this. Like just noticing is enough. Like that's it. Oh, okay. And then just go about your day and just keep noticing. Like, oh, no, notice when you're getting like pulled into a thought, or notice when you're getting pulled into a sensation. Because usually we're just getting pulled in here. We're not really getting pulled out there. Out here gets our attention for a little bit, but not so much. Well, we want to start putting our attention out here more because it's alive and it's beautiful and it's well. And it's like, it's here. Oh my God, there's colors and sounds and smells. And like, yo, this experience is so magical and mystical and unknown. But we assume we know what it is because we have the thoughts that say, this is all this is, right? We take away the mystery of a tree by just saying, it's just a tree. You've been taught that's a tree. Become it curious. Like when we were kids, we were so much more curious about our experience. But then people started telling us what our experience is. And then that started to just shade it. So now this experience is boring and we're doing everything we can to escape it, which is why people are always in their minds projecting into a future, not realizing that's why you keep, that's why your desire is out there, because you keep going out there to it. Bring it here. Stop going out there in your mind and living in imagination land. Yes, imagine, but you shouldn't be living there. Bring it here. Be here now. You're in it now. See that this is it now. And you will. You will. It'll happen to you. The shift will dawn. But I yapped. I said 30 minutes, y'all, but I yaps. Okay, y'all know I do. Y'all know I do. But this was so much fun. I appreciate all of you so much. I'm looking forward to everybody that joins. I'll still be talking about it on the community to anybody that just wants a refresher, or if you want the link, not now, then I'll put the link. $21, 21 days. You'll be receiving daily audio transmissions, and then we'll also have 3 live calls. 3 live calls. And if you're also just interested, if you're like, hey, I don't want to do the group setting, I want one-on-one, then DM me on Instagram and we'll talk about how to work together one-on-one. But my heart is so full. And I don't know. I don't have anything else to say. Bye, guys. I love you. See you guys soon. Bye. Okay. All right. IG. I'm out of here as well.